You are tuning in to the You Are Loved podcast, where we hope to bring love and kindness to the world.
Welcome to another amazing You Are Loved podcast, where we have the beautiful Marsha Terry on with us today. So if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure that you come over to YouTube or any social media platform and check out the video as well. So Marsha Terry is the Self C.A.R.E. C.A.R.E. visionary coach, author, and community leader whose passion is helping others reconnect to their purpose and peace. Through her signature self-care framework, Core, Adore, Restore, Explore, Marsha empowers women to slow down, rediscover themselves, and live with more grace, space, and pace. With more than 30 years of experience in healthcare and leadership, she brings a unique blend of heart, wisdom, and humor to everything she does. Marsha is also the host of the Trials of Life podcast with Marsha Terry, where she shares stories and conversations that inspire growth, faith, and transformation. Subscribe to the Trials of Life podcast with Marsha Terry on YouTube and follow Marsha on Instagram and LinkedIn for weekly encouragement, inspiration, and a reminder to take care of the person behind the title. And we'll have all the links in the description. Welcome, Marsha. So happy to have you on.
Thanks, Jacqueline. I'm really glad to be here. I appreciate you.
Yeah. So how did you end up transitioning, or I'm sure you're still doing healthcare, but going into healthcare into like coaching and so forth, which kind of seems synonymous, but yeah.
So I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 30 years, about, if I can hardly believe that myself. And I'm currently still in healthcare, but not in nursing capacity. My husband and I, we have a couple physical therapy clinics here in South Texas. And so,
nice.
It's kind of when I was working on my master's degree a few years ago that I felt this calling or shift, if you will, to really dive into and have conversations about self-care. I never had the acronym back then, but as I've been doing this work for a while, that's how I kind of transitioned into coaching.
Oh, that's awesome. And how have you enjoyed it?
I love it. I love talking to people. Really
well,
crazy. My husband, between the two of us, he's the talker, but I really love intimate one-on-one conversations, and I need transformation.
Okay. So, yes. And like, I can say without like coaches and therapy in my life, it's definitely helped me get past like a lot of blind spots that I've had that I didn't even realize were there. So I'm thankful for that. And so now you've built a mission that's around helping others reconnect to purpose and peace. So what inspired you to create the self-care framework, and how did it first begin to take shape in your own life?
That's a great question. So the framework and the ideology happened first before I came up with the acronym. So I had been kind of really diving into like self-care and, really setting my day up for success and a morning process, if you will. And as I started to do that and talk to women about it myself, I realized that, getting up in the morning and taking care of yourself and investing in yourself is like, to me, key in really becoming the best version of yourself. But I'm a mom. I have 2 kids, and not everybody can wake up at the crack of dawn. And so as I was developing this process, I realized that it was less about, getting up early and more about figuring out what self-care looks like and how to make it practical for people.
Oh, nice. And then how was there like a specific defining moment when you realized that you needed that message that you share, like when you're with you getting up with the kids? I'm definitely not a morning crack of the dawn person at all.
Yeah. So it's interesting because a friend of mine, she invited me to a conference. This is probably about 2-3 years ago. And I'm going to be honest, as women, we have our peaks and our valleys in life, right? And I was in a bit of a funk. I was just kind of like do I want to stay doing this? Like, what is my direction? What am I doing? And I sat in this conference and the different speakers came up and I was like, I can do that. I know I can do that. And I saw myself in almost every one of the speakers that went up on stage. And a lot of them had a framework. And I'm like, why don't I have a framework? What am I doing? And
Yeah.
so it's almost like when I came home, I got this download. I want to say it was from God. And he said to me, this is the self-care framework. And this is what it means and represents for people. And since then, I've been locked in on really trying to explain self-care in a way that is tangible. Yeah.
That's awesome. So the framework: core, adore, restore, and explore.
Yes.
So are you able to give us like a high level of like what it represents, and how you've been able to help like other women embrace that?
Sure. So it's an acronym, and I think it's easy to remember, and it rhymes. So all of
Yes,
that,
I love all that.
the download, I'm like, you got to do something that people can resonate with, and it means something, and make them be like, huh, I like that. That means something. And so core really is about identifying who you are. I think a lot of us, we struggle with our identity. I know I did personally. Like, who am I? I'm a mom. I'm a, a working person. I'm a CEO. I'm, whatever, fill in the gap, however you choose. But who truly are you? Do you define yourself in that way? And if not, then let's figure out who you are and let's have fun with it. The second part, adore, is once you've really dived into your identity and you've discovered like who you are, how you want to show up in the world, I think it's important that we explore, adoration, like love, self-love. And so it's more to me than a bubble bath, a massage, those kind of surface things. It's like looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I love this person that I'm seeing. And if you don't have that intimate connection, is really figuring out, well, how can you love her? What do you need to change? What questions do you need to ask yourself? Once you kind of, move through that process, the next phase is restore. And that's really about mind, body, soul, and spirit. And, it's about meditation, exercise, prayer, journaling, all those kind of things, eating well. And that's really what I talk about in that section. And then I believe once you've kind of done all of these things, you know who you are, you love yourself, you're ready to like embrace and be healthy, and you're feeling good about yourself. Now you get to go on this journey of exploration. You get to discover amazing things about yourself, challenges that you never knew, because now you have the confidence to do so. And there's really nothing stopping you in order to achieve the next level. And then, I just believe that as we go through life, we go through different phases of this. And this is really the journey of self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Like recently I had been binging this guy, Jamie Winship, on YouTube, who talks about like identity, like what is your identity about? And it really is interesting that when and we have these children's workbooks that were developed for elementary school age children, and then a journal that we've done for teens. And our power tagline is empower your journey. And so we're putting all this stuff together. And sometimes a lot of it's like we want to get to the core and be able to help kids like figure out who they are, but it comes back. I like what you said. And I think that's so true, especially when it comes to self-care, is understanding what your identity is, right? Understanding who you are. So this way, because I get, especially men, because I'm more of a stronger woman, I'm kind of an alpha female, but I do have, when I'm feeling emotionally safe, the ability to be submissive, and I'm a very loving, kind, caring, serving person at the same time. But it's like recent, like my ex, which is an ex for a reason, and then like other guys, well, Jackie, you need to soften up, you need this, you need to do that. But because I understand what my identity is and I understand who I am, yes, I am just like kind of like Well, I can't be perfect and I can't be all things to all people. I've just got to be who I am, and people but that know me and know my heart will love and accept me anyways. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's so true. I
You
think,
know?
identity
Yeah.
is crucial for most women. And I appreciate you for sharing that, because it's not until you can stand in that power, like truly knowing who you are and having the courage to stand up and believe in yourself, that people will come at you differently. And they will either, like you're saying, they will either love you or they will leave you, kind of thing. Right. But when you're
Yeah.
very secure in who that is, kind of foundational in, I think, in the journey.
Yes, yes. So now with yourself, you have spent over 30 years in healthcare and leadership. Through that space, it's demanded like resilience, empathy, and strength. You've had to have all three to be a nurse and a healthcare worker and someone who's been in the hospital and has worked with my mom in hospitals. And I know that the biggest difference with healthcare is when someone actually cares for the patients. And so how for yourself, and that I've really appreciated and thanked the nurses that made a positive difference in my life or my mom's, how did those experiences prepare you for the work that you do now and self-care and coaching? Because you've seen all different types of lifestyles of people that brought them to where they're at, you know?
So the bulk of, let's see, the most impactful part of my nursing career was I worked with a doctor in cardiology, and I worked in an outpatient clinic. And so I saw very young people, like 30, 28, 32, needing, what we call a defibrillator. So it's a device that makes their heart correct the
Mm-hmm.
heartbeat. And so a lot of them had multiple issues, diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease. And, I think a lot of times people don't know how to take care of themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
as a coach, you learn that at the end of the day, people want to be heard. And so I think that as a nurse, I really honed in on my listening skills,
Mm.
because you have to kind of see and pay attention to what also patients aren't saying. And so I think that has really helped me in being a coach, to have that empathy and provide space for people to be heard and seen, and to be able to understand the things that they aren't saying verbally, maybe with body language or nonverbal cues and those kind of things. So I think being a nurse has really helped me out in my coaching practice, for sure.
Yes, because which is probably one of the key things is reading the signs, understanding body language, asking questions, but then also diving deeper and asking those questions that people are too afraid to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things the doctor would always say, we worked together for 10 years. We'd go into patients, into their rooms, and, we would see their heart rhythm. And he's like, it doesn't matter what the rhythm's saying all the time. Sometimes you got to look at the patient and you got to see what's going on with the patient, because maybe their heart rate is like 52, but they're fine. They feel absolutely fine. Maybe at a 52 heart rate, nurses might be like, oh my God, we got to do something, right? But maybe not. So pay attention
Yeah.
to the person in front of you and to what they're saying and what's going on with them. So I think that really plays true in coaching as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. I had open heart surgery when I was 26. I had a valve replacement. So, but it was
wow.
something I was born with, a defective valve. Yeah. So
You understand.
so I could relate. Yeah, yeah. But it was born. I was born with it. It wasn't because of but I feel like I did, like in my 20s, I took those stupid, even though I wasn't fat, but I'm 120, 30 pounds. I'm like, oh, I could lose 15 pounds, but now I'm like happy at 52 if I'm like 150, it's like changes over life, and I wouldn't want to be that skinny again. So anyways, yes, I feel like they kind of exasperated it, the stupid caffeinated diet pills back in the day. But but yeah. So tell us, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your podcast. So, what legacy do you hope to leave with your message of self-care and faith-centered living with your podcast?
So, I started the podcast primarily because I would show up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, weekly. I did it like for 3 years. And then, you can never please, in my opinion, the analytic gods. Like they're always changing how you get seen on social media and things like that. And so, and I think as in anything, sometimes you're like, am I being of service to people? I don't really know. So I wanted to create the podcast for a place for what I talked about to live permanently. And so that's why I moved from, going live on Facebook and Instagram to creating a podcast where I could send people and they would find my content and it's there. It's, not going to go anywhere. And so that's really why I moved kind of off of social media. I am still on social media, but just in a different capacity, because I believe that what I talk about is important. And I personally haven't found anybody that talks about self-care in the way that I have. They might talk about it in general terms, and they talk about it, yes, you need to know your identity, or yes, you got to love yourself. And, you definitely got to exercise, but how do you put that all together so it makes sense for somebody? And in my brain, this makes sense. And so I figure if it makes sense for me, I'm a working mom, my kids are high school, one's about to be deployed. I think it makes sense for a lot of people, because anytime I talk, people are like, I get that. I can relate to that.
Yeah. So what are probably like your top 3 self-care routines that you do for yourself every day or each week or whatever? Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So I'm a big believer in exercising or movement. I really don't even like exercise. I like to say movement, because I think exercise can have negative connotations for some people. And I personally feel if you live in a place where you can just get up and walk, it is probably the most inexpensive form of movement that you can do. You're out in nature, you're breathing fresh air for the most part, and you're moving your limbs. And so that is the number one thing for me. Number 2 is I really believe in like meditation and quiet time. I think that there's so much going on around us. Like we're inundated with, the news. If you watch the news, or if you're on social media, or you go to work and you might have people that you're dealing with that are kind of like, crazy or whatever. So having that quiet time to set yourself up for the day is really, really important to me. And it allows me to quiet my mind, hear my thoughts. It's when I get my most breakthroughs. It's when I am the most like real with myself. And then the other thing is I'm all about learning or reading. So I really try to read something different, sometimes for fun, sometimes just because I want to learn something. And so for me, those are my top 3 things. Like walk as much as I can, about 2 miles a day, meditate, even 5 minutes a day, and try to learn something new every day.
That's awesome. A couple weeks ago, we did, this was something for the Marines. It was like, me and my girls that morning, we did like 4 miles, right? Total, like 4.5 miles altogether, like 2.5 down and 2.5 back, or 2 something back. And then like our friend, he did 100 miles, and we were exhausted after 4. I thought I did something great. I did 4 miles this morning.
Wow.
But he regularly runs like 10 miles a day, and I'm just like, okay, now I'm not doing all that. But
I mean,
yes, exactly. But it was like amazing. And got videos of him like, finishing up his run. And it was just like, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And then just super exciting. So, but it's just like everybody's journey, right? But but we felt great after that day. So of moving around. Yeah. That's awesome. So now if you could give yourself, your younger self, like one piece of advice about rest or purpose, what would it be?
Well, I have a cousin, she's just turned 40, and we're in a group chat. There's several of us, and she's like, what would you tell your 40-year-old self?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's interesting that you asked this question. I really think it's important. This year, I've experienced a lot of personal loss, friends, family. And I think the most important thing to do is truly to live your life without fear, which sometimes is hard, but you never know like when your last moment will be.
Right.
My friend died in the summer and I've been heartbroken since. And I reflect on the time that we've had together and things like that. And it just kind of blindsided me. And I thought, well, how do I honor her? By living my life really loud and being really proud and not shirking away from opportunities or experiences, because you just never know. It might be your last,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So that's kind
Yeah.
of what I would say is like, don't be afraid, just go and do it.
Yeah. That's that was one of the biggest inspirations about around the company, because when I was a kid, I would always, like, when I hung out with my mom, or now like with my close friends, before I say goodbye, I always just tell them that I love them.
Mm.
And I always say this, like, even when I was being a brat and I would hang up, they're like, bye. I'd have to call my mom right back, or I'd have this like bad anxiety. And I'm like, I love you. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. But I love you.
Right.
So, and so that was just always, that's just a huge thing for me. And which, was one of the caterpillars to our business and helping others. So yeah, I just think you just never really know when it's going to be the last time, or someone that you love,
Yeah. And for that reason, I think that we should be bold in what we do and have courage in what we do, and, not be held back with fear because we think that somebody's going to think something about us or say. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what they're going to say or what they're going to do. What matters is how you feel about yourself and how you're showing up for other people.
Yeah. So what does, when you saw our podcast and our name and stuff like that, You Are Loved, like, what did that mean to you? What does that mean to you personally?
I mean, I think it's, we live in such a tumultuous time here in the United States of America. And I think that a lot of times to find somebody or to find a community that says you are loved and you are worthy of being loved is a very important, safe place to be. And so I was intrigued by, your podcast, You Are Loved. I watched a few episodes and I was like, I kind of like this because it's true. We deserve to be loved. And we deserve to be in spaces where we can say that to one another, to other women, to other people, that you deserve it. That you're working hard, you're doing your thing, you're on your grind. Maybe today's a tough day, but that's okay. Because at the end of the day, you are a loved person.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And we have to learn how to love ourselves as well. and I think that's the whole thing behind your self-care, right? Is being able to take care of ourselves as well.
Yeah. And it's not that it's easy. Like, I get up in the morning and we walk at 5:30 in the morning. That's not for everybody. And it's not easy. But the thing is, put on your tennis shoes, put them out the night before so that you're already ready in the morning. When your alarm goes off, or in the middle of the day, or whenever you have time, just go and take care of yourself. Take that 5 minutes, that 10 minutes. It was little moments of time for me at the beginning. And now it's like a whole hour that I take in the morning just to devote to myself and to my well-being. Yeah.
Yes. When when either here in Florida or at my condo in Atlanta, like, I'm usually always like sitting in my car before I walk into the house for a good 30 minutes, like listening to a podcast or listening to an audiobook or doing something before I go in the house and deal with everything else that's happening and just the next steps of my evening. Because that's like my personal me time inside my car.
Jacqueline, there should be no judgment in that. Like, you need time to like regroup. There's a lot of things that may have happened throughout the day that you kind of need to like, brush your shoulders off and gather yourself or compose yourself, or you don't want to bring that energy into your house. And so whatever you need to do to cleanse yourself, remove that energy, to, kind of get your head right before you walk in and deal with your spouse, your kids, or whatever else is going on, parents. I think it's important that we do it and not feel guilty about doing it.
Yeah. I love that, because I never thought about that being self-care until I just stated it now. So but it's so true.
And it's different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
the prescription that I initially had was you got to do this, 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 and this. No, what you got to do is take care of yourself. And what does that look like for you in your life, where you're at right now?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, is there any last thing, words of advice or anything that you'd like to share? Is there like one main website that you'd like everyone to go to that leads them back to everything else? Or
so I do have a website. It's very simple, marshaterry.com. So people can go there and they can find some of my, I blog on there, I blog on LinkedIn. I try to house them all in one place. You might find some videos that I've recorded in the past also on there. It's easier to send everybody like to all the different, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the things. If you go to my website, marshaterry.com, you'll find me there. And if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me through that, or you can reach out to me through Instagram or LinkedIn.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Terry. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I appreciate being here, and thank you for asking me to show up here today.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Have a good day.
Yep.
Everyone, thank you so much for another episode of You Are Loved podcast. Please, you can get any of your Loved material, including our children's workbook that is around social and emotional development. It's at youareloved.store. Orders yours today. Be inspired and pass that inspiration on, and have an amazing day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of You Are Loved. If you have any topic ideas or would like to be a guest on the show, please hit us up on Instagram at youareloved.store.